Hello viewers, welcome to Cloud Mastery channel. Unleash the power of cloud computing. My name is Raghu and today I came up with another video about creating a cloud storage bucket in GCS. This is part of the video playlist on Google Cloud Storage. In my previous video, I mentioned that I'm going to create a demo on creating a cloud storage bucket. However, I was not able to add the demo due to the video length has already very long, and if I add the demo as well, it will be even longer. So I thought it is better to create a new video dedicated for creating a cloud storage bucket in GCS using console. Hello viewers, let us try to understand how can we create a cloud storage bucket in GCS. So let's get started. We can go to cloud storage from the console just by typing cloud storage. So you can select this cloud storage option. Otherwise you can simply browse through the menu and then click on cloud storage to redirect to cloud storage space. Once you redirect it to cloud storage space, you just need to create the bucket. So you just click on create button. So we have various parameters that we need to specify while creating a cloud storage bucket. So I had created a video on all these components. So at the end I will give you the video description link. Please go through that video in order to understand more about all these components. Okay, so let us try to understand each component, and we can provide the input values for each component, and we will try create the cloud storage bucket. Initially it requires the cloud storage bucket name, and we have the naming standards. For example, we cannot use uppercase letters, so we need to use only lowercase. We can use underscores, hyphens, dots, and then we do not use some words like Google and all in the cloud storage bucket name. So let us create our bucket name as Cloud Mastery. Bucket 001, something like that. Click on continue. So let us discuss about the cloud storage location. So we have three types of locations: multi-regional, dual regional and regional. So what the location means is where you want to store your bucket objects geographically. So like it is the geographical location in which you want to store your data, right? So let's start with regional storage bucket. While we discuss about regional, so the regional is basically the storage bucket which will only store within the zones in your in the region that you specified. For example, if you want to create a cloud storage bucket in the region Europe West 3, then your data in your bucket will be redundant across different zones in Europe West 3 region, which means the data will be redundant in Europe West 3A and another zone Europe West 3B and another zone Europe West 3C. So that is required for the availability of your data. And the next one is dual regional bucket. The dual regional bucket is you can specify two locations and in which your cloud storage bucket objects will be redundant across different zones in those two regions. So they also say that dual regional storage buckets are geo-redundant. What is geo-redundant is objects of your cloud storage buckets will be stored in two geographical locations which are separated at least 100 miles away. So that is what geo-redundant, and dual regional storage buckets are geo-redundant. And the next one is multi-regional storage buckets. So if you see here, you have Europe, you have US, you have Asia. So if you select any continent, the data of your cloud storage bucket will be redundant, geo-redundant across multiple zones or multiple regions across a geographical location, a continent. So it gives you more availability of your data. So these are the three different locations: regional, dual regional and multi-regional. So this is all about locations, and let us discuss about the storage class. So the next option is the storage class. So we basically have two type of values for storage class. One is auto class and the default class. So we will discuss about auto class, but first we have four types of storage classes. So we have standard, nearline, cold line, archive. Standard storage class is mainly used for frequently accessed data. So if you want to access on a daily basis or once in a week, you better go with standard storage class. And you use nearline storage class when your objects are accessed once in a month. So if your objects are accessed once in a month, you better choose nearline storage class. And if your objects are being accessed once in a quarter, then you better go with cold line storage class. And finally, if your objects are being accessed once in a year, then you go with a archival storage class. So this is mainly for the backups. So these are the four different storage classes provided by Google. And there is another option which is called auto class. So the auto class is basically they mainly have two types of data. So one is hotter and another one is cooler. So hotter data means the data which is frequently accessed, that is that comes under hotter data, and the cooler data is the data that is accessed not very frequently, that's called cooler data. So in the hotter data, the storage classes are basically standard storage class, and the cooler storage classes are like nearline and cold line storage class. So the why we use this auto class, the auto class is basically it moves the storage objects automatically to the appropriate storage buckets based on the access patterns of the individual storage bucket. For example, in your bucket there is an object which is frequently accessed, then that object is being moved to standard storage class. And there is another object which is not frequently accessed, that will be moved to cold line or nearline storage class. So this will happen automatically based on the access pattern of your objects. So this is about auto class, and I am going to use an auto class. So the next one is prevent public access. There is public access prevention also part of the input parameter. So there is a checkbox here. So what exactly it means is there are some storage buckets and some objects in your storage buckets. The cloud engineer can make that object visible to the public internet. So anyone in the internet can be able to access, provided they have some IAM permissions. However, in case if you are working for a bank or for some organization which has a sensitive data, it is not a recommended approach to make any object of your storage bucket publicly accessible. So in order to prevent this kind of cases, Google has come up this approach which is public access prevention. So what happens is when you click on this checkbox, even if your cloud engineer wants to make some object of this bucket is publicly accessible, this public access prevention will not let it publicly accessible. So that's how this public access prevention is used. This is mainly for the security purpose. So most of the organizations uses this public access prevention to not accidentally or intentionally make any object publicly visible. The next one is access control. So in the access control we have two types of access controls. One is uniform and another one is fine-grained. So the main difference is uniform is whatever permissions that you specify on your cloud storage bucket, it applicable to all the objects in your cloud storage bucket. So it's only uses IAM permissions to manage the permissions of your cloud storage bucket. So whatever objects are part of the cloud storage bucket will comply with the IAM permissions of your cloud storage bucket. However, fine-grained access control is basically it can use both IAM and ACLs. So ACLs is access control list, which is kind of a legacy bindings of GCS. So by using which you can provide fine-grained access to any object within your cloud storage bucket. So with your fine grained access, you can manage permissions of the whole bucket as well as individual objects within your bucket. So most suggested way is to use uniform access control. Let me select uniform. Let me click on continue. So the next input parameter is protection tools. So protection tools are basically kind of two types. So one is object versioning and retention policy. In case if you don't want that protection tools, you can make it none as well. So what is object versioning is basically, in case so in your cloud storage bucket you can maintain the version of your objects. So it always has one current object and multiple non-current objects. So when there is a new object version comes into the picture, that will become the current one and the older one becomes the non-current versions. So with this setting, what we can do is the non-concurrent objects, we can give some timeline to expire those non-concurrent objects. So if you keep this to 30 days, those non-concurrent versions will be expired after 30 days, and if you can change it to 7 days or 3 days, whatever you want. So if you keep it 7 days, which means that your non-concurrent objects will be expired for every 7 days. So this is basically object versioning. And the retention policy is, for example, if you have created a cloud storage bucket and some objects you have inserted to that bucket, and you don't want any modifications happen to that bucket or happen to that object, or any so you don't want the other cloud engineers to delete that bucket, you don't want to get it deleted or get it modified. So in that case, what you can do is you can set up a retention policy. For example, if you keep, so see, you can see it, you can mention it like this. So you can keep 2 days, you can keep it like that storage bucket will not be modified for at least 2 days. So you can keep that retention policy here. So what it does, after you create this storage bucket, no one can able to delete or modify the contents of the storage bucket. So that is basically the retention policy. And the final one is data encryption. So in data encryption, we have basically client-side encryption and server-side encryption. So the client-side encryption is basically when you, before you send data to cloud storage bucket, you encrypt your data at the client side itself. So that is basically client side encryption. The server side encryption is when after the data is being reached to GCS, before it actually returns to the disk, it encrypts the data before it actually returns to the disk. So that is called server side encryption. So in the server side encryption, you have CMEK and CSCK, which is customer managed encryption key or customer supplied encryption key. Customer managed encryption key is basically which will use cloud key management service to create the keys. So they're using the cloud management system to create the keys, and it is being managed only by the customer. The keys will be managed by the customers. However, in case of customer supplied encryption key, so they are using their own mechanism for creating the keys as well as managing the keys. So that is customer supplied encryption key. But you can by default use Google managed encryption key. So Google will create a key for you to encrypt your data at the server side. So this is what Google managed encryption key is. So this is what all the components that we have given while creating a cloud storage bucket. So let's click on create. So enforce public access prevention on this bucket. Yes. See, you have a cloud storage bucket created. See, cloud mastery bucket 001. There are no objects here in this bucket yet. So if you click on the buckets, see, this is the bucket is being created. So you can go to the bucket and click on the configuration. You can see the configuration of your bucket. So see, whatever options that we have selected are being referred here in the configuration. And the permissions, there is no public access given, and no object level ACLs enabled, because this is uniform access control. This is not fine grained. So if you see the protection, we have We have kept retention policy of 2 days for object versions. So yeah, so we haven't done much changes to this, and we can also have added lifecycle rules. So I will create a new video about how we can create a lifecycle rule for cloud storage objects. So yeah, so these are the different options you have in your cloud storage bucket. So this is how we need to create a cloud storage bucket. Thank you for watching the video. As I mentioned initially, I created another video on all the concepts of cloud storage, explaining them in very detail. So I will provide that video link in the description. Please go and watch that video in case if you need more details about each component of this cloud storage. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, please share, like and subscribe.